Okay, welcome back to another edition of Hollywood Balls with me, Geordie, Pete Redding, and our regular pundit. We're going to be looking at Super Sunday fixtures, but first, a big Hollywood Balls welcome to our very own Kevin Campbell.
Pete, how are you?
We're very well. How are you? What have you been up to?
I'm good, thank you. I am just in sunny Spain, and I'm doing La Liga with Peter Reid. We're doing the Real Madrid-Huesca game to start with, and then later on tonight, we're going to be doing the Alaves versus Barcelona game. So, yeah, looking forward.
Nice day of La Liga football on Saturday. We're going to be looking at the Premier League Super Sunday because there's a couple of interesting fixtures in that one that will interest us both, very much so. First of those, though, on the Sunday, because there's quite a few fixtures on the Sunday, is an interesting one for me. Spurs play Brighton, and I'm looking at Spurs and I'm looking at what happened to them midweek in Europe. And Jose Mourinho was very public in his criticism. He said that there's a lot of players in that Spurs team. Being an ex-pro yourself, you'll know that they had a chance to grab and to grab his attention, and he ended up hauling four of them off at half time. What was your thoughts on
that? Managers tend to say this, Pete. It's nonsense. It's rubbish. Absolute nonsense. But for his four players had an opportunity to break into the team. His first team is his first team. That's why he makes changes. So, these guys don't get a proper run. So it's going to be a little bit disjointed and stuff like that. So it's going to be tough. But hauling four of them off makes a point to him. It doesn't make a point to the players. It makes a point to him. And it shines the light on that. So, listen, he's made it work for him, Peter. That's what he's done. He's made it work for him. Because hauling four off, they never got a result, did they?
No.
So it never actually done anything. Who's to say if we'd have kept them on, they wouldn't have won the game? So, again, to me, it's all about Jose Mourinho yet again. But these guys have no chance of starting, really. Not yet, anyway.
And it's funny you look at Spurs because everyone's talking about how they've got two teams, in each position, and they should be challenging on all fronts. But what they don't have at the moment is a back four, is it?
Well, what they've got is they've got good pieces, but it's not only about the pieces you have; it's about playing as a team, Pete.
Yeah.
And we've seen them play. Look, their front two, Harry Kane and Son. We know they've been unbelievable this season. They've scored the most goals combined, etc. in the league, which is great. But it's a little bit disjointed, and that's what tends to happen when you get new players in. New players has to have a time to settle in, and they have got a lot of players on that staff right now. So it's to get the right balance, and I don't think they have the right balance just yet. But they should be a little bit too strong for Brighton.
They should, and I'm coming on to Brighton now because I look at them and they do have goals in them. So I don't think that I think Spurs might struggle for a clean sheet, but I think they might just be too powerful at the other end. I like Graham Potter's ethics of playing football, and it's pretty good to watch. And in Maupay, they've got a very exciting forward, but I tend to agree with you. I think Spurs might just have too much.
Yeah, I think Spurs are going to win the game. I think, at their place as well, White Hart Lane, they're gonna be a little bit too strong. Hey, listen. I'm not going to complain if Brighton win. Let me tell you that much, Pete. I won't complain about that.
No, I doubt you will.
Yeah, but I just don't see it. I see Spurs being a little bit too strong, especially with the form Kane and Son are in right now.
Okay, one that interests us both for our own reasons is your old club Everton, who are going along like a bomb at the moment. They're off up to the tune, somewhere you know very well. I would say that I'm going to come on to Everton in a bit, but they've got a few injury problems as well. I mean, not that it will probably, you just never know which Newcastle are going to turn up, but there's a bit of a blow with sort of 3 or 4 key players out of the Everton side.
Yeah, I think, look, the Richarlison sending off in the derby is going to be proved to be a big one, because you don't really realise how much Richarlison means to that team until he's not there.
Right.
Then you see teams could double down on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. James Rodriguez doesn't get that space that he richly needs in order to be at the top of his game. He's injured himself, James Rodriguez. So, there's injuries and suspensions. Dean is not going to be playing, although Nkunku will come in. He's a good player, good young player. Got him from PSG. But it's not going to be the same Everton, Pete. It's not. And I think this is really a potential banana skin for Everton, because going to St James's Park, this is a great opportunity for Newcastle to have a right go at Everton. And, I think if Everton come away with a draw, I'll be honest, I'll be happy, because they're just not the same team without Richarlison.
It's funny, I was speaking to Warren Barton this week over in the US, and we were talking about the game as well. Just to add to injuries, Newcastle have their own with Lascelles out. So, and whatever you think of him, he's a good captain, he's a good leader. I've said that before to you on this show. And I think given that, with Calvert-Lewin in the form he's in, it's going to take a special performance from whoever steps in that back four. Just going back to what you're saying, Newcastle could have a right go at them, but again, Warren Barton echoed my thoughts. Steve Bruce, he's not set up to do that. They're not even having a go at teams who come to St James's Park. So, this sitting back behaviour will probably happen again. And then we, if they go a goal down, what's the plan B? There isn't one. So, there's a lot of criticism of Steve Bruce this week from the fans, but also from former players. Warren Barton, Kieran Dyer, Steve Howie's they've all come out and just said, look, when they're at St James's Park, we understand the need to be defensive away from home, but at least at St James's Park, maybe open up. They've got the players and the tools to do that. So why aren't they?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Pete. Sometimes, look, Steve Bruce, I think, has got results from being defensive. And sometimes it's difficult to move away from that belief when you've actually got results being defensive. Can Newcastle be a counter-attacking team? Yes, I think they can, with the pace of St Maximum, etc. But obviously, the traditionalist that you are, and the ex-players, rightly so, St James's Park is a fortress. They want it to be a fortress. They want attacking football. You guys live for attacking football. But Steve Bruce ain't producing that, so you're well within your rights to have a go. But you know what, Pete? This is what I will say. Steve Bruce hasn't had a bad start to the season. He's got players in there who can make a difference. So let's see how it pans out, because I'm telling you now, if you go open, you're playing into Everton's hands. That's what I would say. You allow Everton then to counter you, which could be a real long day for you if you let Everton counter you. So he's going to do it his way, and which is rightly so. And if you don't get the result, then obviously the flack will come. But let's see how it goes. But I still think Newcastle will have a go at Everton.
Okay, well, we hope so, and we'll quote you on that, because it's something that they want to see. And funnily enough, to give Steve Bruce's credit, they want it more so because they've got a more attacking setup than Rafa had. They've actually got, you look at the pace in there. You've mentioned Alan St Maximin. Yeah, of course. You've got Ryan Fraser as well, who hasn't been utilised yet. Maybe he's just coming back to fitness. But Callum Wilson's got pace as well. So there are options in there, and I think the fans just want to see a little bit more of that. But a point would be a good result against a good Everton side. Anyone's league this season, so Everton have got to feel, and Carlo Ancelotti, they've got to feel that they're in with a shout as well, as long as they keep this form going.
No, Pete, no. Listen, the first 11 can compete against anybody. I'll tell you that much. The first 11 is good, but now that you see a few suspensions and a few injuries, the players who are coming in are not on the level that of the players going out. Yeah. So you're going to get a drop off, and that's the problem. Whereas you look at Manchester United or you look at Man City, or they can move pieces around and be just as strong. Everton and some of the other clubs don't have that luxury to be able to do that. So that's the only issue I have with Everton being up there, yeah, they're going to have to work and beef that squad up further down the line. But right now, as we talk, they're not quite there yet, mate.
Bit of cup glory then, perhaps?
Yeah, I think they've got to look at the cups. And look, you've got to try and put a bit of success in the football club by any means necessary. Even if it's the League Cup, you've got to get a pot under your belt. Because once you've tasted that success, it makes you hungry for more. But if you never taste that success, Pete, it's very difficult to then try and be successful as a football club.
Indeed. Other games of the day, we'll leave the big one till last, obviously, but there's an interesting one for me in Villa and Southampton. Villa had started off like a train, brought back down to earth somewhat. It seems that quite a few teams in this region of the league so far are having great results, and then you just think they settle into a pattern and then they get beat. They're entertaining Southampton, who I'm impressed with, I have to say. Southampton, he's got a really tough side to beat there, hasn't he? So it's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Look, we know Aston Villa came crashing down to earth, didn't they? But in that game against Leeds, Aston Villa had some chances to take the lead. And what happens in this league is when you don't take your chances, and Bamford was what could be accused of not taking his chance in the first half. But as a homes team, what tends to happen is if you don't take the lead and you don't get your nose in front, it's going to come back to bite you. And that's what happened. Bamford found his range and he got slotted 3 goals. I think this Southampton team are very dangerous. Very dangerous. Danny Ings and Che Adams up top, they're a handful. They are a handful. I like the way Hasenhutl's got his team playing. They press, they pass it well. So it's going to be a difficult game, but you know what? I'm going to go for Aston Villa. I think the addition of Ross Barkley is a key addition, and I just fancy Aston Villa in this one.
Yeah, I do too, and I think what you say. I know the Villa fans and the Villa fans that I know, they're delighted with the acquisition of Barkley. Again, something like Newcastle looking at that. That's a sort of player that I would see would be ideal in the middle. So for Villa, it's a great signing. So let's see what he can come up with at the weekend. But there's no doubting of the game of the day. It's the old enemies at Old Trafford, and it's Man United, Arsenal. Now, Man United, they've had their knockers so far, but then in the last few games, they seem to have found a nice, rich vein of form. So it sets it up nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Obviously, man of the moment, Marcus Rashford, who has been sensational off the pitch, hasn't he? He's
absolutely
feeding the children program and regime. He's picking up more pace. He's got over 1 million people signed his petition, etc. Feeding families and kids is great. So I think that's brilliant. He's found his form.
Yeah.
We got Champions League hat-trick coming off the bench in the week. So that tells you everything. But again, they've not won at Old Trafford all season. So obviously that, fair enough, you're getting a bit of pluses in the Champions League. But when you come back to domestic league, domestic is a little bit different. Hitting form at the right time. But again, pretty much the same as what you said about Newcastle, Pete. What United's going to turn up and what Arsenal's going to turn up, because we know, as brilliant as these teams can be, they've been underachieving this season so far. Both teams haven't really been playing well. Arsenal have actually probably been playing just as bad as them, to be honest, and not suffered as heavy defeats as them. So, I see this being a tough game. There could be goals in this one, Pete. I'll be honest with you, because both teams are just not playing well enough.
There's a young lad that I love watching, and obviously it was in the press again this week that he's got to be brought on, but he could be an Arsenal legend. Will there be a place in the starting lineup for young Pepe?
I think Pepe's got to start. I think the problem with Pepe is consistency. But he was consistent, obviously, when he was in France. But the levels are different, in France. The Premier League is a relentless league. It's a tough league. It's a quick league. You're playing against better defenders, and you're playing against teams who scheme to defend you. If they know you're a dribbler, they'll scheme to defend you. So a lot of the times he's having to contend with two players. So it's how they use him to scheme away from the double team. So they've got to be able to use him, get him the ball, and move it quicker to go the other side or whatever. But it's taken a little bit of time for him to settle in, which, listen, I can accept. And because you know what, Pete? His first season had a big chunk taken out of it for, 4 months in lockdown. You know, it's been a topsy-turvy. It's his third manager in a season. So, you know, it's pretty difficult. Look, I'm taking nothing away from he needs to be consistent. But we know he's got the ability and the talent to do it. So, Arteta, give him the opportunity to play, give and help him along, and give him a right back, because he's played with 3 different right backs as well, Pete, you know, in one season. He needs to build a relationship with somebody on that right-hand side.
As a footballer yourself, Kevin, do you think it's like a catch-22 for a player? Because in order to reach that consistency, I suppose it's all about getting starts and getting game time and knowing that he's got 90 minutes maybe to show what he can do. So it is a little bit of a give and take, isn't it? Yeah,
it is a bit of give and take. Also, Pete, it's a little bit of the team has to be playing better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, trying to put everything on his shoulders is wrong as far as I'm concerned. There's other top players in that team who's supposed to be performing, and Arsenal haven't been performing consistently enough in the league. Now, if the other players are performing, then that takes a bit of burden off him, so he can concentrate on his game a bit more, because it's not just about me, it's everybody. Aubameyang, we've seen Aubameyang last season carry the team. The team ain't playing well enough for Aubameyang to really get hitting the ground running just yet. But I'm hoping there's nothing better than a trip to Old Trafford to get him going.
Well, I'm not going to comment on this because, you know, as I know you know that I'm a bit of a Jonas, so I'm not even going to have a thought on this game. But what I do want to ask you, just flicking over to Manchester United, is about their midfield. I mean, are they, speaking of getting settled, and I don't think he knows. I mean, you know, you've got the Dutch lad Van de Beek in there who's not really getting a game. There's McTominay, he's playing, and then there's there's Bruno Fernandes. There's the Pogba conundrum. I mean,
there's Fred. Yeah,
Fred, who I like. When I've seen Fred play quite a few times, and he does a good job. I can't. It must be a real sort of conundrum for Ole as well. I mean, is he still looking to see if they'll fit together? I was reading this week that that Van de Beek won't fit in with either of Pogba or Fernandes. So, you know, why the heck did they pay that 45 million for him? It's a real strange one.
Pete, you know what I say? Play them all. Put them all in. Put them all in. Take Rashford and Marshall out and put all the midfielders in. Why don't you? Look, Pete, I'll be honest with you. This is what the manager's job is. The manager's job is to find the right solutions in that midfield. Ole hasn't found the right solutions yet. Now, there's been games where they haven't been playing well, they haven't been winning, and Van de Beek still hasn't got on the pitch.
Yeah.
We've seen Van de Beek at Ajax. He's a very, very, very good player, and he's a versatile player. So how he can't fit in with either of them makes no sense to me. But you know what? Put them all in, Ole. Put them all in. We don't mind.
Have them all at the wheel.
All at the wheel, mate. Everybody hanging on to the wheel.
Prediction?
Look, I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal. I'm an Arsenal man. I've got to go that way.
Yeah.
Would it surprise me if Man United beat us? No, it wouldn't surprise me. It's at their patch. But I just think, look, they haven't got a win all season at home in the league. We'd like to keep it that way, and we need the points more than they do. So, Arsenal, I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
Good man. Okay, well, we can't let you go without... you were just saying off air before as well, you know, it's a great day of sport that you've got and a weekend of sport to look forward to. But over this weekend, you'll be casting an eye lovingly over to the Championship, won't you?
Yes, I will. I'll be looking at the Championship in between the Spanish games to see how my lad does for Stoke. They play Rotherham today.
Yeah.
3 o'clock kickoff at the Bet365 Stadium. So I'll try and have a look over there, and obviously look at the Premiership results and stuff like that, and see what's going on there. So yeah, I'm a bit of a. It's going to be a superb Saturday, Pete.
It is indeed. It's a super Saturday and a super Sunday. What I loved last week, though, apart from your boy's goal, because boy did he finish that well. I was watching Uncle Jeff, and your old buddy Paul Merson was on there, and he said that your boy did a little dance which was akin to you.
Yeah, well, it runs in the family a little bit, Pete. But what he also said was he's not as good as his dad, which Merce knows. Merce knows what type of dancer and that I am. So look, no, it was nice of Merce to be covering that game and to mention that.
Yep.
But again, just like anything, Pete, it's about consistency. Yep. And that championship is a brutal division. Games come thick and fast. So my lads played a few games, and then he was on the bench, dropped to the bench midweek against Swansea. Unfortunately, they lost. But that's the league. So hopefully he'll start today, and they can get back to winning ways.
Just had a text, Andy, before you go, and it's from a good friend of mine who's a Rangers fan, massive Rangers fan, and he said, you guys, you never really mention us, so we'll give you a mention. I'm going to ask you very quickly, Kev. The Rangers fans see it as the changing of the guard, that result they had in the Glasgow derby. Celtic are struggling. Bad result in Europe. Fans questioning Lennon. He's won 9 in a row, but this is the one. This is the record-breaking year, the 10 that hasn't been done. And I mean, if Rangers stop them this time, it's going to be very hard to do it again, isn't it? I mean, so it really is a massive season for Celtic.
Yeah, it's a massive season for both, because look, when you look at Rangers fans, Rangers don't want the old enemy to be one up on them to win 10 in a row. So they're all out to stop them. Celtic just haven't been playing well enough, and they've got serious injuries to key players, especially at the top end of the pitch, Pete. The top end of the pitch matters most, and Edouard and these guys are not in there. So that cutting edge goes from your team. And when you take away a cutting edge from a team like Celtic, you become a little bit normal. And that's why I believe Rangers has the upper hand now. Can they stretch that lead? I think that's the key. They're going to have to play hard and stretch the lead, because those players will come back and Celtic will find form. So what you want to try and do, Rangers will go through a difficult period at some stage. So if you're far enough ahead, when you go through your difficult spot, you've got a buffer. Do you understand what I mean? So fingers crossed. Listen, it's going to be a hell of a Titanic fight up there, and may the best team up there win.
So if Rangers need to adopt the Lewis Hamilton approach during a race.
Yeah, they might have to.
Okay, listen, great. What we're going to hope for, so that we all remain friends, is a nice, full of goals, point each at St James's Park, an Arsenal win at Manchester United, Brighton triumph at Spurs, and it's happy days in the Campbell household if the young boy takes Stoke to 3 points. Kev, thanks so much for another edition of Hollywood Balls.
Pete, thank you very much. And listen, we don't want draws at St James's. We want away wins, all right? No problem. I still love you if you beat us, but we're gonna go for an away win.
Good man. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Cheers, Pete.